Okay, so what I did was I jacked those two 2x4s up into place. I clamped them tight. I got them exactly where I want them to go. And I drilled pilot holes through them into the old wood so that the old wood would not splinter when we drive the construction screws. I then took everything down so that I could continue drilling those pilot holes because the 7/64th drill bit that we're using for this wood, I can't get one that's 3.5 inches long, which is the screws I'm using are 3 inches long. So I have to drill through the 2x4, take it down, and then drill the holes a little bit further. So what I did to save time was I then took the 2x4 and I preloaded all of the 3-inch screws that I'm going to need. That way when it comes time to put the 2x4 up and the glue is starting to set, I can just drive them all home without having to load all the holes. Plus, towards the eave side of the attic, it gets narrower down there. It's really hard to be lifting a screw and putting your driver in. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the 2x4s back into place. This is the exact same process I used to get them there the first time. So I've got some help here. I've still got this jig set, and I still have the clamp, the vise still clamped down there. That's going to help me find the home for these boards. So I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see this part of the operation. There's two 2x4s. Each one has the screws already preloaded. So I just need to get these into place. So at first I'm going to rest them on my jig right there. I'm not going to let them touch the glue because I don't want to be spreading that glue around until I'm ready to work with it. You have to be very careful at this point. You've got two 2x4s over top of your head, not connected to anything. This is a bad spot. So now I'm setting them against my vise. That's the location that I want. I'm going to use a quick clamp down here to tighten these up. It's still not tight because I have to work with the other end first. See if we're in a good spot here. There you can see those two 2x4s. Have another quick clamp ready. Be very careful here. Lift it out and, oh, see, that didn't work. I have to clamp it a little bit tighter down here. Let's try that again. Have to lift it away a little bit so you don't smear all of your glue. There's one. Pull this one back a little bit. That's two. Tighten the clamp a little bit. There we go. Now there's still not a lot holding that up there. You have to be very careful moving underneath. And now we have to get those 2x4s up where they need to go. And to do that, I've modified my car jack. This is a 2-ton jack. I've made a custom trellis for it to sit on. It's actually clamped into the top chord of 3 different truss members. And I've got a fork here, and this fork goes around the existing web members and rests against the jig that we made. So that jig helped us get the 2x4s up, and now is going to help us lift those into place. work from the other side for this. So now we are lifting that fork up to give us pressure on our 2x4s. I have a spacer board here which distributes the force to the new members, that as I crank this up, we can get some force on that. There. Now the 2x4s are in position. Now we need to clamp the 2x4s this way to get them as tight as we can to the old member. I can use a bar clamp right in the middle of the wood, right at that 4-foot mark. And what the process is, we're going to tighten this in the middle to force any slack out to the ends first. If we went to the ends and tightened it up there and there's a big bow in these pieces of wood, the bow wouldn't have anywhere to go in the middle. If we start in the middle, you can hear it protesting a bit. There we go. Next we're going to put some 8-inch clamps between two sets of our screws. And you can listen to it tighten up. I'm going to put a 6-inch clamp couple screws away. Want to make sure we get all this done before the glue sets up. It's kind of cool today. It is 8 degrees Celsius, so what's that? 16, almost 50 degrees Fahrenheit or so. Now, as you tighten one clamp, the other one gets loose. You don't want to tighten this one up so much that this one falls down on top of your head. You want to keep them both tight. Now we're going to go to the other side and put 2 clamps. So right now we're just clamping the middle. Because that's where we're going to start taking up our slack first. We have to be careful. If you over tighten the first few clamps, or the last clamp, the first ones could get loose and could fall. So to keep revisiting everybody, make sure that they're all doing their part. That's still good. Go. This type of repair, the roof is a little bit warped, so your new 2x4 doesn't look like it's totally straight. It looks like it's pulling away in parts. You're gonna have to live with that because you can't get the roof completely straight. So now we're gonna drive some of these screws home. We're gonna start in the middle and work our way out. We're gonna go as far as we've got our clamps done, then we're gonna stop, do both sides so that the middle part of both 2x4s is nice and tight. Then we're going to reposition our clamps and get them to help us. Start here in the middle. I've got a little bench here that I set on because crouching gets pretty tiring after a while. Go one side. Okay, so now these clamps can be moved. Just the last two, I leave the middle one on. Okay, I'm going to drive the rest of these screws home, moving the clamps along to make sure that each junction is nice and tight before I put that screw in, so that there's no air gap between the old and the new wood.